Introduction. Congratulations on downloading Soap Making. Start your own six-figure business from home, and thank you for doing so. By purchasing this book, you are taking your first step towards truly dedicating yourself to a life where you're in charge of when and how you make money. Not only that, you are promising yourself a life and career filled with happiness. Who wouldn't love to be around the aromatic and relaxing qualities of soap on a daily basis? This is what the soap making business can offer you and your life, all without the added hassle of having to work for someone else. Making soap can be a lucrative business as long as you take the time before you open your business doors to do some quality research on how to make the business right and make it last as well. This book is here to help you achieve that end. The following chapters will discuss everything you need to know about establishing a reputable soap-making business for yourself. If you've ever wondered how you can go from making soap as a general hobby to advancing your hobby into a business, look no further. This book will provide you with all the knowledge you need to get started. Not only that, this book will also go into details that are beyond the scope of starting the business stuff. This includes providing you with information on the type of equipment you should be investing in, how much this equipment costs, and other types of business strategies that you can easily implement. After reading this book, you'll be one step closer to calling yourself a real entrepreneur. As soap production becomes more and more mainstream, it's important that you begin to invest your energy into starting your business now instead of later. If you wait too long, the market will likely become saturated with budding soap enthusiasts much like yourself. The time is now. Take the steps towards developing your own soap company and solidify the future of which you've always dreamed for yourself. Exclusive invitation to join Angie Young's Inner Circle plus free gift. You are invited to join Angie Young's Inner Circle now for free to receive free access to all future books by Angie Young for a limited time. Get access to exclusive discounts. Receive occasional emails relating to crafts. Join today and receive your free soap making ebook. All you need to do is go to http://www.wisereachday.com/soapmaking. Enter your email and click Get Your Free Copy. You'll then receive Angie Young's soap making ebook completely free. Get your ebook now at http://www.wisereachday.com/soapmaking. We promise never to spam you or share your details. Chapter 1. Turning your soap-making hobby into a profession. Many people have dreams of opening their own business. It's safe to say that many people who work inside of cubicles every single day of their lives hope that one day they will be able to break free from the cycle of the typical 9-to-5 job. They want to be their own boss, and they want to make more money. Not only that, but these people would also ideally like to start their own business doing something for which they are passionate. Otherwise, they're not going to care one way or the other whether the business flourishes or flounders. All of these types of thoughts have probably gone through your head too. While most people dream about these types of circumstances, they do not have something that you have, and that is a hobby that can also be potentially profitable. This chapter is going to focus on not only how you can start to turn your attention away from making soap as a hobby and transform it into a profession. It is also going to focus on some of the key factors that you should be thinking about before you even go near a bank to get a loan or begin to develop a business plan. By organizing your thoughts in a particular manner, you can begin to think about the process of soap making as more of a business endeavor and less like it's something that is only pleasurable to you. Without understanding how you need to start thinking about your soap business, the less likely it is that your business is going to thrive in the way you both want and need it to. Are you prepared to make less soap? One of the first things that you need to consider before you decide whether or not you really want to get into the soap making business is to figure out if you are someone who will be able to convert your passion for soap making into a passion for making money via your soap production. Instead of thinking about the joy that you get from actually producing your soap, you are going to need to consider whether only making soap when it is profitable to do so is something that you can manage. Efficiency is one of the key elements to any business in general. If you've ever heard the phrase, "time is money," then this concept should make sense to you. Many people get into the soap making business thinking that he or she will simply make a ton of soap all of the time and get paid to do this. The art of balance is important, especially when you're first going into business. It may take time before the orders start to roll in, and if you're on a budget, this may mean that you actually are not making soap when there are no active orders for you to fulfill. Will you be able to curb your soap making passion when it's necessary? This is one of the first things that you will need to ask yourself before moving forward. Can you make anything else besides soap? Another key question that you should be asking yourself prior to any formal business planning is to consider whether or not you can make anything else besides soap. Many soap making enthusiasts open up shop for themselves thinking that their soap production will sustain their business for both the short and long term, only to find that they need to close their business's doors because they can't make ends meet. While we will talk about the ideas of price points and profit margins in a subsequent chapter, it's safe to say that most people who dabble in creating their own soap business ultimately come to find that they need to be selling other products in order to see a sizable profit. If you can't think of anything else you can produce or sell, perhaps you should be thinking about finding someone else you can go into business with who has a different skill set than you. Some other products that you might consider selling in addition to your soap includes oils, hand cream, and even paintings or other types of artwork. Get creative, and don't be afraid to expand the ideas that you have about your business. Expanding your vision and being flexible may be the two characteristics that ultimately save you from having to go bankrupt later on. The work that's involved. It cannot be overstated that starting any type of business, especially if you're doing it on your own, is extremely tiring, stressful, and sometimes overwhelming. Not only will you need some thick skin when you're first getting started, but you're also going to need to be prepared to work extremely long hours. From a financial perspective, you may have to prepare yourself to spend your own money before you can see anything that comes close to being profit. And you may find that starting your own business from scratch is harder than you initially thought it was. This information is not meant to deter you from starting your own soap business. Rather, it is seeking to adequately prepare you. If you start to grow your business thinking that it's going to be a walk in the park, then you're going to be in for a rude awakening once the formal planning process begins. Hiring your personnel. Lastly, if you are still serious about starting your soap business after reading the previous information that this chapter has to offer, then you also need to start thinking about who you are going to hire, if anyone. As a general rule of thumb, unless you're going into business with a friend or another type of person whom you really trust, it's generally said that you should avoid hiring your friends or close family members, at least when you are first starting your business. You're going to have enough chaos on your hands on a daily basis when your business is first getting off the ground. Even if someone is your friend, how do you know whether or not they're going to make a good employee? When you're the boss and you hire a friend, you're putting your relationship with that person on the line. The potential for controversy is high, which is why you should avoid hiring friends or family whenever possible, at least in the beginning. Chapter 2. Business Planning Basics that you need to consider now. Now that you've considered the first few questions that we discussed in the previous chapter, you should be at a point where you can definitely say to yourself, yes, I am going to start a soap-making business. You have an idea of the mindset that you have to have and some of the precautions that you have to consider before participating in this process any further. Now that this has all been established, the next step is to think about how you're going to write your business plan. Every business, regardless of the size of the company or what is being sold by the enterprise, needs to have a business plan. In the most basic sense, a business plan should establish the broad strategy that the business is going to use to become reputable and profitable, while also stating all objectives and intentions that the business has. This chapter is going to look at the key elements of a business plan, but it will put it in a perspective for a soap-making company in particular. The importance of writing a business plan. Maybe you have dreams of saving some money by only having an online soap business. Your goal is to have your customers simply place orders online, and this will save you money because then you don't have to buy a building. Of course, this would be an ideal situation, but there are so many other aspects of this process that you may have yet to consider. This is the primary reason why a business plan is important. It is a working document that will help you to keep track of all the details of your business planning process. Additionally, and potentially more importantly, if you are considering purchasing a building from which you will run your soap business, it's likely that you will be looking for a bank to finance this venture. Without a business plan, it's less likely that you're going to find a bank who is going to take your idea seriously. Sure, a bank certainly wants to know how much money you're going to need, but they're also going to want to know how you plan on using the money that they're going to provide, because this represents how you're going to eventually make money and be in a position where you can pay them back what you owe them. These are the two broad reasons why a business plan is important. And if you want to be taken seriously as a budding entrepreneur, then you should write a business plan that is not only detailed, but also well written. What your business plan should cover. When you're looking to write a business plan for your soap business, there are a few important elements that you need to include in it so that you have all of the information that you need about your business covered in an organized and comprehensive manner. While the elements of a business plan that will be referenced in this section can be applied to any type of business, we will also discuss specific information that pertains to the soap making business that you should include in your own individual business plan. Business Plan Element 1, the Executive Summary. A good executive summary is only 1 page long and summarizes what the rest of your business plan is going to cover. If you've ever been taught about how to structure an essay in grade school, then you can compare an executive summary to be the same as the opening paragraph for your essay. While the executive summary is the first element of the business plan that your audience will see, it's advised that you write the executive summary last. Business Plan Element 2, Business Description. The next section of the business plan after the executive summary should be the business description. This should tell your audience about the product that you're going to be offering, how you personally got involved with the business of soap making in the first place, and any other details that will bolster your overall credibility. While we are going to discuss in much more detail how you can choose a niche for yourself within the broader soap market, the business description section should also briefly discuss what type of niche you're going to be catering your soap towards, as well as any other products or services that your business will offer. Business Plan Element 3, Product and Services. Within the product description, you should briefly reference the type of niche product that you're going to be offering your customers. But in this section of the business plan is where you really want to write out all of the details about your specific product. A key element to this section of the business plan is to identify what makes your soap unique when compared to other soap that's on the market. What separates your product from the rest of the products out there? And how do you plan to be one step ahead of the rest of your competition? These are important questions that you're going to need to be able to answer. Business Plan Element 4, Branding and Marketing. These days, you need to be able to prove in your business plan that you're not only going to be able to produce the goods that you're looking to sell, but that you also have some sort of marketing strategy in place. A great way to prove that you're dedicated to marketing your product is to turn to social media or the internet for proof of this fact. Some other marketing considerations that will be useful to make and put into this section of your business plan include what the name of your website will be, your method of online payment such as PayPal, testimonials that your customers will make on your behalf, and the layout of your site, blog, or social media strategy. Business Plan Element 5, Implementation. Unlike the marketing section of your business plan, this section is largely more serious. This section should include the type of soap equipment that you plan on using, the overhead costs associated with soap production, including packaging and storing materials, where this equipment will be located, and how you will get this type of equipment, such as through suppliers or wholesale retailers. Business Plan Element 6, Managerial Force. If you are going to be running your business as a sole proprietorship, then that is all that you really need to say in this section. You can also opt to exclude this section from the business plan if it doesn't pertain to you. If you are going to have multiple employees at your disposal, you are going to want to note specifically how involved these people are going to be, as well as how much of the business they're going to own. If there's a hierarchical structure to your soap company, you will also want to note what the structure is within this section. Business Plan Element 7, Speculation. In this section, instead of talking about your current strategies, you are asked to branch out and look towards the future of your company. Where do you see your soap business heading in a few years? If there are market trends that you know about, how are these factors going to influence your business, either for the better or for the worse? When you're making speculations, don't be afraid to dream big. The bigger your dreams, the more excitement you will create around the future of your soap-making project. Business Plan Element 8, Financial Summary. This section should include how much money you've already made through soap making, if any, as well as whether or not your company is going to be requiring additional borrowed funds. This section should provide an explanation for how much money you need if you plan to break even each month, as well as state how you're going to generate cash flow. These 8 elements are the basis for any good and working business plan. Hopefully, this section has provided you with the exact information that you need in order to start building a business plan quickly and in a detailed manner. Now, do you see why a business plan is considered to be the most important element to starting a business? There are so many details to consider. Without a business plan, your ideas will be jumbled, forgotten about, and eventually this will lead to your business idea being discarded as silly or irrelevant. Start creating your business plan as soon as possible. Chapter 3. Top tips on how to make your business thrive. Admittedly, the previous chapter was a bit general in the sense that the business tactics that were presented can be applied to any business that you want to create. While this might not be what you expected when you chose to download this book, the reality of the situation is that there are some mundane aspects that are involved when you decide to start any business. This chapter will be more exciting in the sense that we will be directly talking about the soap business and top tips that you can use to take your hobby and turn it into a business. It's important to note that these tactics should be implemented once your business plan has been set in place and your loan has been acquired, if you're taking one out. Once you can use these tactics for yourself, you'll be able to see some of the easiest ways to make your business as legitimate as possible. Top tip 1. Develop a structure for your business. One of the first and most important steps to take when you're first developing your soap making business is to make sure that you have a structure set in place that you're going to follow on a weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly basis. What this essentially means is that before you open the doors to your business, you have sat down and have completely figured out what you're going to do each day of the week. For example, you are going to want to figure out on what days and at what times you're going to be making the soap. You'll also want to figure out all of the details of your manufacturing costs, as well as figure out when you're going to invest some time into your social media or other type of internet presence. Of course, as you're moving through your schedule, you may come to find out that it's not exactly working when you first start. That's okay. You can tweak it as much as is needed. The important thing is that you have a schedule and you're keeping to it and improvising when it's necessary. One of the biggest mistakes that budding soap making entrepreneurs make is that they forget that they need to put an actual process in place if they're going to take their hobby and turn it into a business. Top tip 2. Track your sales and use technology. Sometimes when aspiring soap entrepreneurs are starting out, they're often not tracking business's progress in any formal way. Often, these types of people are so used to creating the soap that they forget that there are formal business tactics that should be set in place if they want to know how they can improve their business. When you track your spending, you're able to see not only how much you're making on a daily or weekly basis, but also how much you need before you can get comfortably take a vacation. And more importantly, if you need to be putting in more hours in at your new office. Additionally, for small businesses, there is sometimes a tendency to think that you don't need to heavily rely on technology. However, if you're looking to start your soap business primarily online, then it's safe to say that you're going to want to learn how to use multiple applications and software tools that will come to your aid and track all your business needs equally. It's especially important to note here that while tracking your sales is important, you should not sacrifice money in exchange for accounting software before you have the funds to do so. For example, QuickBooks is largely considered to be the front runner of accounting software for many small businesses, but QuickBooks can be expensive for a company that is just starting out. Some of the best free accounting applications that you can find on the market today include MoneyManage EX, NewCash, and TurboCash. If none of these appeal to you, an Excel spreadsheet should also get the job done. Top tip 3. Resist the urge to refer to yourself as a crafter. The soap industry is unique in the sense that many people do get into the business of soap making because they were originally interested in it as a hobby. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Yet so many soap makers insist on referring to themselves and their business as a crafting business. To many, the term crafter diminishes the work that you're doing. You're developing a business in a specialized field, and your products are going to nourish the skin of your customers. It's safe to say that you may have chosen to opt out of starting your soap making business if it did not involve creating handmade and wholesome products for people. Crafter can connote the idea that you're a crazy lady with 12 cats who runs around all day in a frenzy making soap. You're a legitimate business person, and you deserve to be regarded as such. Instead of referring to yourself as a crafter, it might be a good idea to refer to yourself as a cosmetic specialist, or even simply a soap specialist. If you want your business to be a legitimate one, then it's up to you to make this happen. Top tip 4. Don't be afraid to invest in yourself and your future. Let's face it. You may be starting a business with little to no professional entrepreneurial experience. This is okay. Sure, you are going to want to be as frugal as you can be as your business is getting off the ground. But as your revenue starts to come in, you should remind yourself now and again that it's okay to invest in your own entrepreneurial education. Look to attend entrepreneurial conventions, or maybe seek out some coaching for yourself. You may be surprised to find out that instead of feeling like you've wasted your money on yourself, you walk away from a training session feeling invigorated. You'll have new ideas that you can use in your own business practices. Who knows? Maybe over time, you'll look around and really feel like a true entrepreneur. Top tip 5. It's okay to be proud of yourself. One of the biggest mistakes that new entrepreneurs make is that they do not get the word about their product out into the world as much as they can. It can be an uncomfortable feeling to think that everyone is going to see what you are doing and judge you negatively for it. Instead of resisting the urge to toot your own horn, you should embrace it wholeheartedly. At the core of every business endeavor is the desire to make money. How do you expect to make money without getting the word out there and endorsing your own product with as much passion as you're making it with? Do you and your business a favor and brag just a little bit every once in a while. Chapter 4. Rookie mistakes the soap entrepreneurs make and how to avoid them. Now that you're aware of some of the best tips out there regarding your soap making business, it's time to look at perhaps a more negative aspect of the business. This chapter is going to focus on the mistakes that many new soap making entrepreneurs make when they're first starting out with their soap making business dreams. The hope here is not to deter you from starting your own business, rather, is to make you aware of the types of mistakes that you might be more prone to making because of the fact that you're inexperienced. The idea is that when you're more aware of these mistakes, you'll be less likely to repeat them or make them yourself in the future. Of course, without mistakes, people would never be able to learn anything for themselves. But if you already know that other people have made these mistakes in the past, then there is really no reason why you should make the same ones again. Soap business mistake 1. Stocking your store with too many fragrances. In any business, it's safe to say that a business owner wants to be there for his or her customers in every possible way. You might be thinking that as a business owner in the shop industry, it might be a good idea to make and sell thousands of various fragrances. But this is not the case. Instead of worrying about pleasing everyone, it's safer for the viability of your business to carry less scents. This way, you will have less inventory sitting on the shelf during any given period of time. When you choose to carry a lot of inventory, you are basically converting your previous money into a non-liquid asset. Especially when you're first starting out in the soap making business, you're going to want to have as much liquidity as possible. Soap business mistake 2. Never copy your competitors. Let's be honest here. How do you expect to start a great soap making business without looking at some of the tactics of your competition and taking note of how they're running their business? You can't get started on a good foot without analyzing your competitors and figuring out the general practices that exist within the soap making market. Your competitors, whether you're aware of it or not, are going to be looking at what you're doing just as much as you're going to be looking at them. The only time when this type of copying would be inappropriate is if you decided that you were going to make literally the same product as your competitor, but at a lower price. Doing this would easily make you and your business practices seem unfair and shady. If you want to make enemies rather than respectable business competitors, stealing someone else's idea and lower the price of it is a quick way to do that. Soap making business mistake 3. Forgetting to test your products before they hit the shelves. Every single product that hits your shelves, whether these shelves are physical or metaphorical in nature, if you're starting an online business, must be tested out by you before you sell it to someone. If you do not do this with all of your products, you run the chance of selling one of your customers a product that may contain defects. Over time, if you sell products that do not meet a particular standard of adequacy, then your product and your business operation will be labeled sloppy and nonchalant. If soap quality is important to you, it might be a good idea to even consider hiring someone who can spend some of his or her time doing quality control on your soap products. This way, there will be an official whistleblower assigned to monitoring all of your soap before it leaves your business's hands. Soap business mistake 4. You cheat your customers out of a good product. If you have a loyal following of people who love your products before you even open up your doors of business, then you definitely do not want to go and change a recipe for your product once you're in business. One of the things that you may notice about yourself as you convert your hobby into a business is that you notice factors that you may have not noticed when you were simply making soap for friends and family. For example, when you're making soap on a mass scale, it's likely that you will notice the wholesale price of the materials that you need in order to make the soap more than you did prior to your decision to open a successful business. Even though you may come to find that there are cheaper wholesale materials that you can be using to make your product, you should resist the urge to indulge in these types of inferior alternatives. It's true. People really can smell a cheaply made product from miles away. And if you start producing something that is less than what you're known for making, you are going to lose business, regardless of how loyal your customers may have been in the past. Stick to the more expensive materials, and you'll thank yourself over the long term. Soap business mistake 5. You act too emotionally. When you're first starting out with your soap making business, it may not be uncommon for you to feel like you have to please everyone. For example, one of the ways that this may manifest is that you can put yourself in a situation where you're constantly making soap so that you don't run out of stock. You're worried that if you ever run out of a product for a period of time, You're going to disappoint your customers, and they'll end up writing you off. It's safe to say that most entrepreneurs will run into feeling a bit desperate at times for some business, but you should try to cast these emotionally motivated feelings aside whenever you can. As we've already discussed, when you have too much inventory, you're putting your business in a situation where it had less liquidity. When you set an inventory goal for yourself each week instead of producing product with no set goal in mind, you're able to look at your business as a whole more objectively than if you were to make product based on the fact that you feel insecure about your production level. You can always tweak your level of production. You'll likely get burnt out if you're constantly trying to keep up with an inventory demand that is actually made up in your head. Chapter 5. How much money do you need? A cost breakdown analysis. While we have largely discussed what to do and what not to do when you're working towards opening a soap business, we have not yet talked about arguably the most important aspect of any business plan and operation. Of course, we are going to be talking about cost. Not only is understanding the cost of opening a business important for you because you need to know how much money you need to acquire. Knowing how much your business is going to cost up front is also important from a banking perspective, because if you're planning on taking out a loan, your bank is going to want to know exactly how much money you need and why you are planning to need that much. This chapter will look at everything that you need to create a soap business. Even if you are planning to start a business that is mostly based on the internet, you're going to need to have certain things in place that will cost you money each month. Let's take a look at what some of those things are now. Your business registration. One of the things that you need to think about as you move towards opening up your business is what kind of business you're going to register as. Two of the most popular choices for a small business like the one you're thinking about opening are the sole proprietorship and the limited liability corporation, more commonly referred to as an LLC. The cost of opening up a sole proprietorship varies from state to state, and while there generally is no cost to operate in this manner, there may be filing fees that you will have to pay in order to have your business be considered legitimate. You will need to check with how your state operates in order to determine whether or not you're going to need to pay a filing fee or if the fee is non-existent. A sole proprietorship is a great way to cheaply get your foot in the door with your business. While the word free should be exciting for any budding entrepreneur to hear, the LLC might be the business registration license that you actually want to get, for the simple fact that this type of registration will protect your personal assets. It's likely that you're going to be spending your own money when you begin your business venture. If you want more security than a sole proprietorship can provide, then it might be a good idea to look into an LLC. Again, depending on where you live, the cost of opening an LLC will vary. As was already stated, the key benefit of opening up your business as an LLC is that your personal assets are safer than if you merely open a sole proprietorship. You will need to assess your own situation to determine whether a sole proprietorship or an LLC is appropriate for you. The importance of insurance. For any business, obtaining insurance for your company is not optional. It's mandatory. You may not initially think that there is much risk in opening a soap business, but God forbid one of your customers get hurt while they're purchasing your product, or your equipment becomes damaged somehow. Of course, let's not be dramatic. Your soap business is most likely going to be considered to be low risk in nature. And from an insurance perspective, this is great news for you. Again, depending on where you live and which insurance company you use, you are probably going to be paying between $600 to $1,000 per year on insurance for your business. Website. These days, if your business does not have a website, then you are most likely doing yourself and your business a huge disservice. People's fingertips are always only clicks away from looking up what your business can offer them. If you don't have a website, then you are choosing to miss out on an opportunity to reach more potential customers without even necessarily doing anything. When you're looking to build a business website for yourself, one other key factor that you must be thinking about today is how your website will be optimized for a smartphone. If your website looks good on a computer but is unnavigatable on an iPhone or an Android device, your potential customers may get fed up with your website and look elsewhere. When you're thinking about building a website, there are multiple factors you need to consider. And one of the biggest considerations to make is how you're going to host your site. Hosts such as Squarespace and Wix offer user-friendly platforms where you can easily build your site in a way that will fit your personal vision for roughly $12 per month. If you're looking to have your own domain name, this will most likely cost you around $15. A good piece of advice when you're looking for a domain name is to resist the urge to have a bidding war over a domain name that somebody else already owns. While it's certainly true that many domain names have already been bought by other people, if you decide that you need to have a particular domain name, there is a chance that you are going to be spending a lot of money in order to get it. Be open to choosing a domain name that may not be perfect. Advertising. If you're not good at advertising, it is strongly advised that you become more knowledgeable about how to properly advertise for your business, and quickly. Advertising usually costs some money, and the amount of money will depend on the type of advertising that you're doing. For example, Facebook advertising is cheap and will only cost you about $60 for a month's worth of advertisements. If you don't really think that this is worth the cost, then you can certainly opt to go the more traditional route of printing out flyers and business cards. This is also going to cost you money. These days, social media can serve as a supplemental form of advertisement, but it's often not enough. In addition to some of these avenues, you should also be thinking about and planning different fairs and events that you're going to attend in the hope of drumming up some business. Things to consider when you're planning these types of events include whether or not you need a hotel and how much gas is going to cost you. As you can see from the topics that we discussed in this chapter, if you're frugal and thrifty, you may be able to start your soap making business for around $1,000. The biggest cost that you're going to have to maintain is likely going to be your business insurance. If you already have adequate equipment methods in place, then you need not worry about your equipment cost. However, if you've been skimping on buying soap making equipment up to this point because soap making has been your hobby for quite some time, then you're going to want to consider purchasing your own professional equipment. Hopefully, this chapter has been able to provide you with an idea of the costs that will be associated with opening up your soap business. These factors are ones that every business must face, and it is your responsibility to make sure that these types of procedures are processed, filed, and documented in a responsible manner. Chapter 6. Finding a soap niche that fits your style. Now that you know that the costs associated with owning and operating a soap business are largely affordable, the topic that we're going to talk about involves you knowing your own abilities, strengths, and weaknesses. When you develop a niche for your soap making business, one of the biggest benefits is that your customers will know that they need to come to you for specific types of products. No one wants to open a business that is just like all the others that already exist, because where is the specialness in that? This chapter is going to discuss what a niche is and how you can best orient yourself towards finding yours. After reading this chapter, you'll have a better idea of how you can develop your niche in a way that will almost guarantee you a steady stream of revenue. Let's take a look at this information now. What is a niche? A niche is a specialized type of product that you can exclusively offer your customers. When you have a niche product line, this essentially means that you operate within a distinct segment of the entire soap making market. The goal is that when you're able to find a successful niche, you'll be able to dominate the market for that specific type of product. And this will distinguish your business from the business of your competition. When you're first starting out in your business, the idea of developing your niche while you're also developing all the other aspects of your business may seem daunting. One of the best ways to relieve yourself of this type of thinking is to remember that dozens of entrepreneurs have felt this way before you have. How do I find my niche? When you're looking to find a niche within the soap-making business world, or really any type of business world for that matter, one of the biggest factors that you must have a strong understanding of are your business strengths and weaknesses. Your strengths and weaknesses, from a professional perspective, matter because these are the types of factors that are going to determine how smoothly and efficiently your business runs. It would make no sense to develop your business around a niche that highlights your professional weaknesses. For this reason, it's best to first determine what your strengths are before doing anything else in regards to figuring out what your niche is. After you've determined your best strengths, the next step is to continue asking yourself various questions. Some of these questions include the following. Question 1. What do you do that is unique within the soap-making industry compared to other businesses that are already thriving in the market? For this question, you're going to want to make sure that you've already taken the time to analyze some of your competitors' business practices. It may take some time for you to figure out how you're unique from the other soap businesses that are in operation within your vicinity. But once you take some time to contemplate how you're different, you might be surprised to find that you'll already have somewhat of an idea of where your niche should originate. Question 2. What is your favorite type of soap to make? This question is arguably more pleasant than the last question because you don't need to do any snooping in order to figure out what you enjoy most. Of course, if you enjoy making all of your products equally, then this might be a rather tough question to answer. But for most of us, this is a question that will come easily. As with most things in life, it is advised that your niche be primarily a product about which you are passionate. If you detest making your niche product, then it's likely that you're going to dread going to work every day. Isn't the point of opening your own business to be able to spend each and every day working on behalf of a product that you love? If you choose a niche product that is unenjoyable to create, you'll be more likely to throw in the towel. Question 3. How is your customer base unique? Another fun question that you can contemplate relates to the general personality of your consumer base as a whole. What is special about these people? When you are able to answer this question confidently, then you know that you have a firm grasp on what your average consumer cares about and why they're motivated to purchase your product. Almost always, the primary motivator as to why someone is purchasing your product is because they feel as if your product is greatly improving their life in some way. This concept relates to the principles of advertising a bit in the sense that you want to try and tailor your product to the motivators that your customers have. Knowing what motivates your consumer base is a hard question to answer. And if you can figure this question out, then it's certain that you will be ahead of many of your competitors. Question 4. What is missing in the market? Rather than asking questions that are related to you or your consumers, you also have the option of instead turning your attention towards the soap market in general. When examining the soap market as a whole within your particular locale, you need to be asking yourself, what doesn't the market currently have, and how can you fill this void? A great way to try and figure this type of niche out is to examine the soap industries that exist in other areas of the nation. For example, the food truck market will differ depending on what part of the country you find yourself in. The same is true for the soap market. Question 5. Which niches are underrepresented? If you take your time to brainstorm the other questions that have already been discussed, and you end up only discovering niches that already have a customer base, then all hope is not lost for your pursuit of finding a niche for yourself. Instead of only focusing on an entirely new niche to find, you may have better luck instead focusing on how you can improve an already existing niche. Again, when you do this, you have to be careful that you aren't directly stepping on your competitors' toes. But if you're creative and can fill a void within a niche that is already established, then you will be set up to find new revenues, paths that are not currently being pursued on the market. Of course, if you do this, you have to be relatively confident that the market truly is underrepresented. Otherwise, you will run the risk of opening up your business to potentially losing money by focusing on a part of the niche market that does not necessarily have a customer base waiting for this type of product to be produced. It would be pretty surprising if you asked yourself each of these questions and still could not figure out how to find your niche in some way. Additionally, you should not be stressed to see that you will probably use a combination of these questions to find the niche that will work best for you. Just because you ask yourself one question, this does not mean that you're going to end up finding your niche relatively easily. The relatively well-known saying is true. Things that are worth it take hard work. You have to do adequate research in order to find the best niche for not only the individual market in which you're working, but also the niche that best suits your business practices. Taking your time to do this, and if this means that you have to slightly delay opening your doors for business, then you should at least consider doing so. If you simply open up your soap business in the hope that you're going to outsell your competitor when you're selling the same products that they are, there is a chance that this might result in some disappointing results in the end. Take the time and do the research to find your niche, and once you find it, stick with it. Chapter 7. How to brand your business on the cheap. After you've taken some time to think about the niche that you're going to attack within the broader soap market, the next step towards developing a legitimate business identity for your soap is to brand it. There are many aspects to the branding process, and if you've never branded anything in your life before, then this might be harder than you think. Branding your soap in an attractive way that is pleasing to the eye and to the hearts of your customers is essential to gaining more traction and buzz around your soap product. It should be said here that one of the ways that you can begin to think about branding is to consider some of the questions that we discussed in the previous chapter. What does your consumer base care about? Why should they want to buy your soap? Your branding tactics should mostly entertain these types of motivations. Of course, branding gets much more in depth than this. This chapter will focus on multiple areas of the soap branding business so that you can be best educated on how to create your own brand. Creating a logo. One of the first factors that you need to consider in terms of branding is a logo for your soap. If you're just starting out turning your soap hobby into a profitable business, there's a chance that you may have never thought about this branding aspect before. You have two options and ways to approach creating a logo. The first one is to hire a graphic designer who can easily create a great logo for you. You will need to bring this person some ideas about how you want your brand to look, and they will do the rest of the work from there. Depending on who you hire, The cost of having a graphic designer create a logo for you will likely run you between $500 to $1,000. However, there is also the possibility of finding a freelance graphic designer who will do it for less. If you don't want to spend around $500, you may want to look for budding graphic designers who are still in school and would like to take a professional job on at a cheaper rate. If spending money on creating a logo sounds like a waste to you, you also have the option of editing a stock photo that you can find online. If you choose this option, keep in mind that there is no way that you're going to be able to copyright the logo that you want without editing it in some way. Websites such as Shutterstock can offer you thousands of design options, and it is relatively easy to edit these photos in any way that you wish. Regardless of the logo creation method that you choose, you should sketch some logo templates or use a sketch software tool that will help you create a logo that will speak to your average consumer. Once you have a few designs, show them to friends and family and ask them to choose which logo they like the best. This will help you to narrow down your decision. It's also a good idea to print your finalized logo on pamphlets, business cards, and other advertisement documents. Lastly, you will want to consider how your logo will look next to the color of your soap, if you're going to be wrapping the logo around the soap itself, or how it will look on your specific packaging if you're going to be shipping your soap in a unique way. Other factors to consider while creating your logo into general brand color scheme, the font that you want your business to use, and the overall style that you want your brand to convey. Pick your packaging. Your packaging should largely complement the style of your brand and the type of soap that you're selling. For example, if you ultimately decide that your soap niche is going to be luxury industrial soap for men who are working in particularly dirty environments but who still want to feel like their skin is being taken care of, then you would want your packaging to complement your brand with a rugged and masculine feel. I know that the niche in this example is a bit obscure, but sometimes finding your niche requires some thinking that's done outside of the box. If you don't yet have a firm way that you want to go about creating your packaging, two of the best ways to go about this is using clear shrink wrap or using clear small plastic boxes. When you're using the clear shrink wrap method, you're going to want to make sure that you have a manual shrink wrapping tool. This tool will cost you around $40 and is easy to use. Start by wrapping the plastic around the front of the soap until it's completely wrapped. Once this is finished, apply the heat from the shrink wrapping tool to each side of the bar of soap. It may take a bit of practice, but you should be able to get the hang of this within the first 3 tries. What is great about the clear shrink wrap method is that your consumer will be able to smell the product without putting his or her hands on the actual soap in the process. The clear plastic coating will protect your soap, yet still allow your customer to receive the full soap-smelling experience prior to his or her purchase. If instead of investing in a shrink wrap tool, you are looking for a packaging method that is a bit less labor-intensive, then you may want to opt for the clear plastic boxes. These boxes will likely run you around $10 for 50 boxes, and they will still enable your customers to smell the product that you are smelling. These boxes are typically going to have small openings in the top corners, which will allow your customers to smell the soap product prior to purchasing as well. While the shrink wrap tool is going to cost you a small sum up front, the shrink wrap itself is likely going to be cheaper than purchasing boxes in quantities of 50 at one time. Social media. The prevalence of social media today requires that we discuss in some sort of detail. In addition to concrete branding methods such as creating logos and developing a unique form of packaging, having a good social media presence will also help you to drum up some business for yourself. Many small businesses, regardless of the specific business type, will schedule their social media posts in advance so that they can be constantly attracting people to their product. While social media content trends on being more geared towards marketing than it does branding, many companies can extend their brand identity through social media forums such as Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook. It's a good idea to be posting at least once a week on your social media platforms. And it is an even better idea to entice people to purchase your product through giveaways, events, and other exciting brand tactics that will keep your customer base growing. Another way to think about your social media branding is to think about how much photos matter in this day and age. Everyone is always taking the infamous selfie these days, and taking photos is living proof that you have traveled to an exotic location or have had a unique experience. You should think about branding your soap in the same manner. You should be taking pictures of your prettiest soaps and uploading them to social media websites. During the holidays, this is particularly important. People would be more likely to purchase your soap if your logo, brand, and product are all collectively looking sharp. Consider doing photo shoots with your product before posting it to social media. You want the photos of your soap to look just as professional as the other type of branding that you're doing for your company. Of course, this may require that you purchase a fancier camera than your iPhone, but if you already have a camera of this nature, all you need is a colored backdrop and a table to complete your photos design. It's advised that you curate your social media presence in conjunction with your overall brand presence for your company. Chapter 8: Marketing Strategies that will help you to grow your business. Branding is not the same thing as marketing. While the previous chapter on the topic of branding did discuss social media tactics, this is an exception in the sense that social media can contain both brand and marketing elements. This chapter is going to focus on the best ways that you can get the word about your product in addition to the social media tactics that you're going to be using. These topics include the ideas of online affiliate marketing, partnership marketing, and direct party marketing. While setting up a presence at craft fairs, farmers markets, and other types of small events will certainly help your business from a marketing perspective, the ideas in this chapter will bring your marketing goals to the next level. Next level marketing tactic 1: online affiliate marketing. If salespeople were not effective, then it's safe to say that many people would find themselves out of business. Salesmen and women, while they're sometimes a bit irritating, typically generate sales for the business for which they work. When you decide to engage in online affiliate marketing for your soap business, you are essentially employing a company whose goal it is to try and generate more business for you through various means. This type of marketing is known as affiliate because in exchange for their services, you will give them a piece of each sale that they generate for you. In a way, this type of marketing is particularly good for small businesses because you are not obligated to pay this type of service a salary. This company only gets paid a portion of your profit when you also get paid at the same time. If you're interested in this type of services, two great companies that can help you establish an affiliate marketing strategy for your soap business include LinkShare and eJunkie. Next level marketing tactic 2: partnership marketing. Another tactic that you can use instead of or in addition to online affiliate marketing is partnership marketing. When you implement a partnership marketing strategy, what this basically means is that you're going to be going around to local businesses in your area and attempting to acquire a deal with them where they will allow you to put your soaps and fragrances into their bathrooms, or even offering up samples of your product to people so that they can take them home with them. When you're looking to target a restaurant or a small business with whom to partner, you should be looking for a place that attracts the same type of customers that you have. Let's stick to our example about the industrial soap for men. If this was the obscure product that you were selling, you would not want to put your soap in a yoga studio or in a location where a majority of the clients are women. Instead, you would want to think about maybe partnering with CrossFit gyms, barbershops, or construction stores in your area. Additionally, you should be thinking about the scale of the business itself. You're going to be operating as a small business and will likely be able to tout that you're a locally based company. As such, you should look to partner with companies that are also local rather than franchise. This way, you are able to support local companies in the same way that they are willing to support you. Next level marketing tactic 3, the direct marketing tactic. One last marketing option that you have is to use the direct marketing approach. If you've ever been to an Avon party or a party that is dedicated to selling naughty toys and lingerie, then you already largely understand what this type of marketing entails. Since you would be in charge of organizing and operating this function, it would be your responsibility to put together an itinerary for the party that would showcase the variety of soaps that you have to offer. Now, when you're at a party of this kind for another type of company, you may have noticed that they jump around from product type to product type. For example, Avon will focus on various lipsticks that they offer, and then jump to their new line of mascara before talking about their blush. It's likely that your party would have less product because of the fact that you are targeting a niche market. However, this does not mean that this type of marketing would not work for a soap company. Your party might be a bit shorter, but you could still sample the different types of scents that you offer to your customers. One of the biggest reasons why these types of parties work is because the people who attend these parties often feel as if they must buy something before they leave the party. While this may seem a bit, sleazy or tacky at first glance, the logic behind this type of marketing tactic is that you have a reliable product that is actually going to enhance someone's life. Then there is no reason why you shouldn't be bringing to their attention and making it available to them for purchase. You should be able to implement one of these 3 marketing strategies into your soap-making business functions. While all of them may seem appealing in one way or another, it's also important to think about 2 factors. The first factor is that you will likely not have enough time to implement all 3 of these marketing strategies simultaneously. It's advised that you choose the tactic that seems the most appealing to you and focus on that one first. You're going to be juggling many other factors when you first start your business, and you don't want to become overwhelmed with marketing. The other factor that you should be thinking about are your own personal strengths. If you're someone who doesn't enjoy standing in front of people and talking for a long period of time, then why in the world would you ever consider hosting a direct marketing party? If your marketing strategies are not consistent with your personality traits, then you're going to feel like marketing is more of a chore than it has to be. Marketing is too important of an aspect of business planning for you to marginalize it in this manner. Chapter 9. A final note on the future of the soap-making industry. Hopefully, at this point in the book, you feel as though you have a comprehensive understanding of the parts that you need to have in place when you're looking for your soap venture to thrive. With all of your other knowledge-driven ducks in a row, the only other thing you really need to be aware of is the future of the soap-making industry and what you need to be focusing on so that your business will thrive. While these ideas may not seem the most optimistic, it is nonetheless crucial that they're discussed because otherwise you will finish reading this book with a sense of false information. Shipping costs. Right now, if you were to open a soap business where your orders are exclusively being fulfilled by internet customers, it's likely that you're going to run into a problem where your shipping costs are going to inhibit your business's profitability. One of the easiest ways to get around this is to sign up for Fulfillment by Amazon, also known as FBA. When you apply for FBA, you will pay $40 to sign up. After that, you can upload your products to Amazon and sell them on their site. When a product sells, Amazon will pay you back for the shipping that you do, and they will give you your profit after they make a small cut. usually only a small percentage of the total profit that you make. Sure, we would all love it if the big guy never took from the little guy. But sometimes these types of concessions are necessary if you want your business to stay alive. One other positive factor about FBA is that you can fulfill your orders from other sites with FBA too. This means that if you have a website where people purchase your soap, you can use your inventory that you have on FBA towards orders on your personal site as well. This provides you with multiple ways to generate customer business for a small fee. From a viability perspective, the reason why shipping costs are in the final section of this book is because many soap businesses end up going out of business because of the high shipping costs that they have to pay. It is crucial that you figure out how to keep your shipping costs low, or else you may end up closing your business stores sooner than you think. Selling multiple products. Lastly, although this topic was already brought up in previous section of the book, it really cannot be overstated that you really should be selling other products besides soap if you can help it. The reality is that it's going to be hard for you to set your price point at between $8 to $10 per bar of soap. And this is likely the only real way that your business is ever going to be able to see a significant profit. It might be a good idea to open your business up to the possibility of collaborating with other small businesses in your immediate area, or even consider finding coffee shops or other types of retail stores that will agree to put your products on their shelves for you. If you are stubborn and only want to create a business that solely focuses on soap, it's likely that you are not going to see the profits that you think you are. When you're turning soap making from a hobby into a profession, all of your time is going to be spent working to achieving profits for your business. It would be silly to limit your profit potential by not opening yourself up to the reality of the soap business as a whole. Right now, there are many emerging soap making businesses, and they all want a chunk of the action. Do yourself a favor and be open to the possibility of partnering up with multiple entrepreneurs. If you do this, you will be securing a better future for your business. This has been Soap Making. Learn how to make nourishing and natural skincare soap at home. Written by Angie Young. Narrated by Fred Theodore Fadick III. Copyright 2017 by Angie Young. Production copyright 2017 by Angie Young.